Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Business Breakthroughs. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, Andrew Honigsfeld and Michael Millay. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fired up. That's how I am. How are you?
We are so excited to be on here with you as per usual. We always have so much fun just talking to you, even beforehand, during the show, after.
Yeah, I know. We should just hang out. I have wanted to move to California for a long time, so.
I would recommend it. I mean.
Yeah, we're a big fan of that.
I think
also,
that would create a business breakthrough.
I think it got down to like 65 last night. So, I mean, you might want to hold off on moving because it's getting so cold.
That's true. The weather's pretty rough right now.
Yeah, it's like 10 where I am. So, you know.
There was a cloud in the sky, I think, earlier.
That's
It looked ominous. It was white and fluffy.
That's funny. Well, listen. Let me segue us in so I can stop thinking about my 10-degree weather and your 65-degree weather. By talking about, I would say LA is sort of like the land of hustle. Don't you think? Don't you think like the greater LA area, Orange County, it's like the land of hustle, unless you're surfing.
Yeah, it feels like everybody's hustling something. You know, you go to, even your barista's hustling her or their acting career, and everybody.
There's a script that they swear they're writing.
Yeah,
right.
It just needs to be finished.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that with the advent of personalities like Gary Vee, who said we're supposed to hustle or always talks about hustle. Hustle has become such a glamorous / overused, I think, solution lately that I'm excited today. We're talking about, like, are we addicted to hustle? So walk me through this. Like, what do you guys see from the business coaching realm of people addicted to hustle?
I mean, I'll just start with, I think that, first thing, it comes from a loss of values or a lack of your own personal values. Because if you don't know what you want to do or where you think your time should be, everybody else, Elon Musk, Gary Vee, everybody who's ever made it says, well, if I hustled really hard and that's what got me here.
Right.
So if you don't know what it is that you really want to spend your time doing, it's easy to fall into that trap. And that's like really the first thing is I've just found so many people that are hustling because they were told to.
Right.
And not to say that you aren't going to work hard. Like, just to be clear, like hustle can be useful.
Right.
The problem is when people go from hustling as a tool to, okay, my solution to my business not having the right infrastructure and me having no game plan on how to sell stuff and not being able to make enough money is, I just got to hustle more. It's like,
right.
You might want to take a step back and look at a few other things along the way. Right. And then once you have a plan, hustle in the right areas.
Yeah, and I think hustling is used as an excuse to not slow down and plan. And we talked about that in previous episodes. It's so important to slow down to speed up. But I find that, like, I even have a hard time saying, like, hustling is useful because at the end of the day, people don't know what it means. They hear hustle and they think it's, smash your head into the wall until you get through it. And that's not what I would be using it as. So, I think that that's one of the things that I'm even, hesitant to say hustling's useful, but I do get the, the idea if you work hard and you put in the time and effort and energy properly, that's exactly what you should be doing.
And people confuse hustle and grit all the time.
Right. Well, distinguish that for me? What's the difference between hustle and grit?
So grit is when everything's not looking good and you're looking at your bank account and going, shit.
Right.
And then going, okay, cool. What's next?
Right.
What's next? How am I going to make this work?
Yeah.
Okay. I have to sell one of the boats, burn the rest.
Yeah. Well, grit also has strategy involved. It's not just like, you don't just like take one on the chin just because, it's, grit. If you look at it in like a fighter with grit, he can take the punches. He rolls with them. He keeps going, but he's not standing there with his hands down and his face exposed. Like, please hit me more, sir. That's not what's happening. He's trying to defend, but he's waiting for his moment. And in what you're seeing is a guy who looks like he's getting beat up, or a guy who looks like he's getting beat on, right? And really, he's waiting for his moment, and he knows that it's coming, and he knows what he's looking for.
And he's hanging on.
Right. Yeah, that's grit. It doesn't look good, but you know your moment, and you know that you're ready to take it if it shows up.
And the big difference is most people think that they need hustle when they actually need grit.
Well, and what I would say,
the willingness to bet 110% of what you have on yourself.
Right. Yeah, and hustling's actually the other guy in that story. Hustling's the guy who's beating on you and beating on you and beating on you and beating on you and beating on you. And then lo and behold, the guy with grit turns around and gets him with one good shot and he's down. Because the guy who's hustling worked himself too hard and didn't actually check to see if he was exposed anywhere. He wasn't paying attention. He was just doing things.
He was literally hitting the wall over and over again, hoping that the wall was going to break.
Right.
I hear, like, in grit, I hear intention. I hear resilience, determination. In hustle to me feels kind of like mindless activity. Like, let's just do a lot of stuff and see if something works. I see this in real estate all the time where people will make I'm going to make all the calls, and I'm going to do 50 open houses this year. And I'm going to go to every networking meeting. And there's a lot of activity to try to hopefully stir something loose, right? Like, like something clicked. But the challenge of building your business on hustle is that it's going to require hustle to keep going, because that's your strategy. Your strategy is hustle.
Yeah. I was just talking to a realtor who, she's at every networking event. She's in every chamber. She's in every, you name it. If it exists, she's there. And, she's looking at us and she's like, hey, I would love coaching, but I can't afford it. And it's like, she hustles more than almost anybody I've ever met. She's, does the calls, has the marketing, does, like, if you name it, she's done it.
Right.
But by not stopping and figuring out what works or what doesn't work, and then going after that.
Right.
By not having a game plan, it's just movement.
Right.
So I actually just came up with a great analogy. Go with me on this. Or I hope it's a great analogy, at least.
We'll see. We'll be the judge of that.
Okay, great. I love being judged. Basketball teams. Who's doing the hustling? The players, right? On the court, running back and forth. Right? They're hustling up and down the court.
Yep.
The coach is not hustling. The coach is thinking about things, strategizing, telling people when to hustle, when to take it easy. And most people view themselves inside their business as the player, not the coach.
Right.
And that's why they get trapped in this addiction to hustle, because they think, oh, they just need to work a little harder to score that extra point, as opposed to being able to take a step back and be like, okay, how are we going to do this?
That's good, man. The thing I like about it is that I feel like part of it feels good to be busy. It feels good to be in on the court, moving up and down the court with the ball and like in action. And so I see it's a lot easier for people to just hustle because it doesn't require you to think. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But if what you want is strategy, what you want is your life back because you're hustling till the wee hours of the evening, right? Then you're going to have to replace that hustle with something that's a little bit more strategic. Yeah.
Well, and most people then, if hustle was the only thing it took, you know what they would do in practices? They wouldn't have them shoot the ball. They wouldn't have them play defense. They wouldn't have them practice passing. They would literally just have them run back and forth the whole time. Yeah. And they don't, because it's not about purely hustle.
Yeah.
Right.
And and like that's where people get caught up, is they go to hustle as the solution.
Right.
Where it's just a tool. And I think that a lot of this comes from the scarcity mindset, where people, as Andrew pointed to earlier, don't value themselves. And so they think they need to be doing something to get money. If they're not doing something, then they didn't earn the money.
Well, it's also that they don't value, like they don't know what they value. It's not just that they don't value themselves. So like if you value spending time with your family, hustling isn't going to get you there.
Right.
You can't be hustling all over the place. And that's where grit comes in, and you got to sit back and say, hey, look, I'm not going to this networking event because the last 6 times I've been, I've got nothing.
Right.
So I would rather spend that 3 hours with my family.
Right.
You know, if your one and only value in life is to amass as much money as possible, then sure, hustle away, have fun with it. But I've never met anybody who that's truly their one and only value.
I do think it's not quite as simple as that. I mean, I feel like the way it occurs in my brain as an entrepreneur is I really do value my family. I really do love my family, but I need something to break loose. And so I'm left with, I guess I better go hustle. Like I just got to figure it out because I don't know of any alternative.
Right.
I'm left with hustle.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, and that's part of it is, you know, part of hiring a coach, any coach, us, anyone else is sometimes you need somebody to step back for you.
Right. Yeah.
There are some people who really just can't see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, nor is it something that everybody needs to do.
Right.
Right. And for those people that can't see the bigger picture, great. Go hire somebody, a coach, a mentor. I don't care if you know, I know Keller Williams has like a mentoring program. Like, great. Go get a mentor. Go do something like that so that somebody can stand at the 1,000 feet out and say, hey, that's a wall.
Right.
3 steps to your right, you might have some real access.
Right.
So that's really, it's like, you know, I get that. And that's why coaches exist. That's why we all came to be as coaches, because we saw that people were missing that piece.
Right.
That's why we have coaches for ourselves.
Right.
Because we're human.
Right.
We get caught in that tunnel vision too.
Yeah.
It's a human trait where you get so focused on the prize that you lose sight of everything else. And the flip side of that grit and that determination is the lack of flexibility.
Right.
Because there's an element of needing to be uncompromising in your goal while also being flexible in your strategy.
That's good. Yeah.
Which the duality of that mindset is really hard to implement day in and day out.
Yeah.
Because it actually takes something to really be able to view it in both lenses at the same time.
Can we talk about the addiction part of this for a minute? Because I feel like there's some juicy insights there. Right. Because I mean, look, in some ways hustle is benign. It's like, I mean, hustle for a little bit, fine. But it's when you start getting addicted to the hustle that I think you start to create a rut that is harder to get out of.
Yeah.
What creates the addiction to the hustle?
Well, I think what you pointed at was when people don't know what else to do and they hustle, but then when it works, that's when people start to get addicted, because they start to realize if I work 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week, I'll make money.
It's good, man. Yeah, it's really good.
But, you know, again, it just really comes back to, what did you make the money doing? Was it because you were at every single event that ever existed?
Yeah.
Or is it because one of those events is really useful?
Right.
And you know, maybe it is because you're at every single event. And then in that case, you end yourself in a trap of like, cool, you can't have a business unless you work 100 hours a week.
Right.
And at some point, we all need a break.
Right.
Like no matter who you are, no matter what you do, you're going to run out of energy. So what happens to your business in that moment? And so I think what happens is people don't think about it like in 3 months from now, I won't be able to do this. They think about it as right now it'll work, and they just keep going and going and going, and then they crash.
Right. Yeah, because they're getting the juicy payoff right now.
Right, exactly. And the payoff is just that. It's the payoff for the moment. But if you're not using that to create strategies to allow yourself to take a deep breath and take a break, then you have to run at 100%, 110% every day, no matter what. And your business can be making as much money or as little money as it is. And if you step away, your business falls apart.
there's two other hidden payoffs that I would say most people do not want to confront about hustle, though, too. Mm-hmm. One being that, you're addicted to not having to be responsible for the actions you take. Because when you're hustling, think about it. If someone's hustling really hard, working 80, 100 hours a week, and their business isn't moving forward, they can go, well, I'm hustling.
Right.
And no one can be like, oh, well, you're not doing enough. Oh, well, you need to be doing a little bit more. But nope, I gave it my best effort. So, so it absolves them from responsibility from the results.
Right.
Because they hustled.
Yeah, that's deep. That's good.
And part of that is because I'm going to say laziness gets a very bad rap.
Right.
Inside of business and America in general and culturally and in most things.
Right.
And I'm going to also point to Bill Gates saying that he would rather hire someone lazy to program something than someone who works really hard, because the lazy person is going to find the most efficient way to do it.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh.
And like, part of what it is that people define themselves as being a hard worker.
Right. Yes. I was going to ask
that.
I had a guy who was one of the top agents in the country.
Yeah.
And I wrote a course for him with his book. And he said that for so many years, his identity was wrapped up in his work ethic.
Right.
In other words, you could say in his hustle, right? And for him to start to find leverage in his life, it jeopardized who he knew himself as a hard worker. And so all of a sudden, he didn't get the same juicy payoff of feeling like I'm successful. But
that's the addiction.
Yeah.
And that's actually a different type of addiction, though.
Well, there's something else that you started to talk to, Michael, and that said here is like, it's not just like, because America values hustling, because we're all about it.
Sure, right.
When you're a hustler, everybody around you thinks you're pretty great.
Right.
And the environment gives you tons of positive reinforcement, and it's like, dude, you worked so hard this week, man. You're awesome.
You crushed it.
Do it. I don't know how you worked all those hours. I could only work this many, but you worked that many. Right. Man, you're great. And you're just sitting there like, yeah, stroke my ego. So like that happens inside the hustling mentality. And that's part of it is we say like, you know, I know my standard answer when somebody says like, what have you been up to? Just keep them busy, right? It's just something that like, it's like a turn of phrase. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But if I said, I'm not doing much, and every time I say, oh, I haven't done that much today, everybody's like, well, why not?
Right.
Like, what's wrong? Is it what? And it's like, no, I mean, like I took care of the things I needed to take care of, but I didn't like go crazy today. And people don't really accept that answer.
Yeah.
It's very much like oh man, so are you sick?
Sounds lazy.
Yeah. Like, why were you lazy? I wasn't lazy. I did everything I had to do. I just didn't do all the excessive stuff that I could have done.
Yeah.
So there's sort of a, there's a positive or negative, depending on which side of it, reinforcement loop that happens. Yeah, and hustling right now is very much in the positive reinforcement loop. And so when you tell everybody you're hustling, the world congratulates you and you get to feel good about yourself. Yeah. And it goes back to whether or not you got results.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Also, you think about how many people, even if they are getting results, let's say they are getting the results from hustling. How many times were people told as kids, oh, if you don't work hard, you're not going to make it?
Right. Of course.
Right. Yep. And so at some level, people in their mind think and attach their success to working hard. Just like what you were pointing out with that one realtor who he needed to work hard because that's who he was. Right. Otherwise, he wasn't earning the money. Right. Otherwise, he wasn't getting that success. And Andrew, thank you for bringing up the point of the external validation. This actually points to the thing I think we want to talk about next episode is the strengths.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I don't look at external validation really at all. Like every once in a while, I'll be like, oh yeah, thank you for acknowledging me. But it's like,
but when he wants it, he will come up to you and say, acknowledge me.
Nice.
But that happens maybe once a month. Like,
nice.
Realistically, whereas Andrew's like, yes, I did do good. Thank you. and like,
yeah.
Part of that is it's actually a strength because he can actually see that in other people and really support that in other people. Whereas I'll just completely step over it and be like, oh yeah, you did good. And people are like,
give me some more. Give me some more, please. Just a little more. That's funny. Well, Michael, I want to make sure we got time for the second thing. Was there a second? There was.
Yeah, the second is the money. If you're not working hard, you don't deserve it.
Right.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Which is the mindset that gets implanted into us as a small kid. Like you think about how many times on tests, oh, you need to work hard, otherwise you're not going to pass the test. You need to work hard, otherwise you're not going to be ready. You need to practice. You need to do this. You need to work hard. 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 How many times do people hear that over the course of their life?
Yeah.
Here's what I love about this, because I keep every episode we do, like the name of the show, Business Breakthroughs, is so beautiful because what you're doing in these episodes is you're confronting the status quo, or what's how the rut that we find ourselves in. And in this episode in particular, the breakthrough comes from looking differently at what you're doing, like what your daily actions are doing. If you want to break through, you got to look at where are you getting fat, juicy payoffs for behavior that doesn't come from strategy, but comes from, cultural agreements about work ethic or whatever,
Or that your parents told you that you need to work hard.
Right.
And
yeah. Well, and it's interesting on that test thing is I've never heard any, like, I've at one point in time, I was a good student, I swear. No, but at one point in time, like when I was like, pushing myself for grades and things like that, the answer was never, okay, what did you do last time that didn't work? And then let's, adjust. It was study longer, work harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is, so it's important because it's like nobody from a young age, you're never told to look at what you've done, evaluate the process and see what worked and what didn't work.
Right.
You're just told to spend more hours.
Maybe once every few months, someone will be like, oh, well, maybe try flashcards this time.
Right. But it's just another strategy of how you work harder.
Hustle with flashcards.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so good. Guys, this is so good. I think an appropriate next step would be for people to reach out to you. Like if you guys listening to this have been hustling and you're like, listen, I don't know if I can keep going with this pace or this hustle sometimes works, but I don't know how to reproduce the results. Like what you need is some strategy and some grit and some different perspective. And I know these guys are great at that. Guys, if people want to reach out to you and see what it's like to work with you, how do people connect?
Yeah, just have them go on over to myperfecthire.com. And there will be a contact us section at the bottom. Fill it out, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you.
Perfect. myperfecthire.com. I love that. It's a great domain name. Awesome, guys. Thanks for your time today. We could keep going. In the next episode, we'll talk about strengths and how do we actually, I think strengths are part of a different solution. Hustle is one thing, right? We're using energy and whatever to try to produce a result. But I think strengths can be another place we produce a result. So I look forward to exploring that with you in the next episode.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Good stuff. See ya.